All right, YouTube, breaking news. Bernie Sanders has sold out, ended his campaign, and endorsed Hillary Clinton for the presidency and has promised to campaign with her and on her behalf. This has to piss off at least a sizable minority of Bernie Sanders fans. You look at Clinton's track record, it's absolutely nothing like Sanders' track record. Sanders has been for single payer for a very long time. Clinton's like, yeah, maybe expand Obamacare a little. Sanders voted against the Iraq War. I think this is a big sticking point. The Iraq War is sort of like the last generation of what everything within politics revolved around. W and all of his allies, of course, they wanted to go bomb things. They wanted cowboy interventionism over in the Middle East. Hillary Clinton glowingly praised the idea, said we'd be welcomed as liberators. So yeah, I'll vote for it. Sanders voted against. He did vote to authorize funding it, but he at least stood on principle to begin with and said, no, I'm not going to vote for the war itself. Sanders has been more questioning of the ethics of some of these bureaucratic agencies with their domestic surveillance. He's been more opposed, generally speaking, to the idea of going in to Syria, the idea of fucking around in Libya. He is not completely anti-war, but he's obviously quite a bit more anti-war than Clinton. On economics, Clinton's proposing like a 0.5% tax increase. People say, oh, that's monstrous, horrible neoliberalism. Sanders, his own economic proposals were far more vast. Now, number one, yes, Hillary has won fair and square. Even not counting superdelegates, she won more delegates, she got more votes, she should be the nominee. But that doesn't mean that people who support a candidate who is almost diametrically opposed to her on a variety of issues should really get behind her, and I don't think that they will. Number one, I think a lot of them will vote for Trump out of spite. I think an even larger number are probably going to vote for Jill Stein if they're more economic and environmental left. Gary Johnson if they're more like end the drug war, no more foreign interventionism left. I think that at least a sizable minority of those who are not necessarily Democratic partisans, sometimes yes, sometimes no, I think a fairly large proportion won't back Hillary Clinton. I don't care if he appears with her up on stage. I don't think it's really going to help her long term. She'll get a little bit of a boost, but will it last? I like to think not. I prefer to think that Hillary Clinton, of the four general candidates, you've got Trump, Clinton, Johnson, and Stein. Hillary Clinton is arguably the worst of the four. If Bernie Sanders had been the nominee, number one, he'd be absolutely crushing his opposition. I may not appreciate his tax proposals, his economic proposals, but he would admittedly be doing better than Hillary is. I don't think that the fact that she's polling 2 or 3 points ahead of Trump is something to celebrate because supposedly she's running against Satan himself. So don't congratulate yourselves too soon if you are a Hillary Clinton supporter. I think that he is a more honest individual. I may not appreciate everything that he believes in, but he's more honest than Clinton is. Clinton just got investigated by the FBI. Now Congress might go after her for perjury, which almost certainly they would be able to make those charges stick if they can actually get an investigation, a trial going for it. You've got the potential of a Democratic nominee who is going to go into the general election under multiple criminal investigations. This does not look good for the Democratic Party. I can understand why Bernie Sanders fans would not be too happy about this. Now, I'm a native Vermonter. I was technically born in Grafton, New Hampshire, Dartmouth Hitchcock mode. But I've lived here basically almost my entire life. I've spent some time in Texas and Florida and Rhode Island and so forth. But mostly I've lived here in Vermont. Bernie Sanders, I don't have any problem with him as a senator. Not at all. But I find it very funny that one of my senators has just endorsed somebody who is probably further away from him on many issues than Trump. I find that very, very amusing. I think he's sold out, and unfortunately, that's a bad thing for this country as a total if she becomes the next president of the United States. I think Jill Stein would do a better job. I think Gary Johnson would do a better job. I think Trump would do a better job. I think that some randomly inserted individual, some randomly chosen private citizen would probably do a better job than Hillary. We've already seen Clinton presidencies before. The fact that economic turmoil didn't happen under Bubba Bill's watch had nothing to do with his own policies. It had to do with the period of growth that coincided with when he happened to be elected. It had nothing to do with anything Bubba Bill did. If anything, there was a crime wave under Bubba Bill. There were mass assassinations. You look at Waco, you look at all the terrorism at the time. It was not a good time for this country. People just thought it was good because the USSR was gone halfway through, and so we didn't have that massive stressor on our population. But no, Bubba Bill was, if anything, an average or mediocre president. I don't care what the left wants to claim. It's sort of like the Reagan worship on the right. It's about the same. And it's sad to see him sell out. You can almost tell he doesn't really believe in Hillary's ideals, I think. I think you can see it in his eyes when he's talking. He has the firebrand speech capabilities. I understand that. But if you're a Vermonter and you've seen Bernie on the news constantly, you've actually seen him debate during, the process here in the state of Vermont, you know when Bernie actually is believing what he's saying. I don't think that he's too happy about having to do this, but I also think he wants to be able to stay in the Senate. And, that's just sort of the way it goes. Keeping in mind, of course, Bernie Sanders was an independent for the longest time and only recently switched to the Democratic Party. But it's rather sad. And by the way, I don't think he's going to be her running mate either. I think that that ship sailed quite some time ago. And you can see Hillary looks very, very happy right now up on stage with Mr. Sanders. She looks very, very happy to have finally put away the process. She's almost glowing. Of course, part of that might be from all the drugs she's probably on. But yeah, Bernie Sanders has sold out, sadly enough, and endorsed Hillary. Not that it, in the long term, I don't think it's going to mean much. People are going to realize Hillary Clinton's proposals are so vastly different from the candidate that they voted for that I have a feeling most of them in time will abandon her. That's about all. Peace out.